The campaign will be doing a lot today. We'll be making quite a few stops. We have been very encouraged. A lot of people do identify me with another generation, the younger generation, who's so enthusiastic about the things that we've been talking about and going back to the Constitution. So this to me is very encouraging because the growth of the freedom movement is getting to be exponential. It was very, very slow for a long time. Intellectually, it's been around for quite a few years, 30, 40 years. At least there's been a remnant of people holding these ideas of personal liberty together and the kind of thing that was embedded in our Constitution. But now, out of necessity, I think what's happening is people, whether young or old, are realizing what we have today is unsustainable. You just can't keep borrowing money and printing money and bailing out everybody and think it's going to last forever. And we know there's going to be an end point. And to me, I fight for this cause because I would like to see the transition be smooth. I would like to see us cut back on spending, balance the budget, restore constitutional liberty, restore sound money. If we do that, we can avoid these problems getting much worse. But if we continue to do what we're doing, we're going to see a breakdown, a further breakdown of the economy, and it's a worldwide phenomenon. And that is indeed a threat to our liberties. Too often, the people, when they're frightened, there's chaos, they claim we need more government. Like after 9/11, the solution wasn't to have more government intrusion into your lives, and that is what really happened. I mean, they thought that the answer to the threat of Al-Qaeda was to take away your Fourth Amendment, which the Patriot Act does. We don't need to undermine our liberty. We need to understand how liberty protects us. It doesn't undermine our security if we protect liberty.
The difference of our campaign is we really do believe we should cut spending. That's why I have made the proposal. It seems to be well received by all those who consider themselves fiscal conservatives. And that is to cut spending. My proposal is to cut spending in a serious way the first year by $1 trillion. Yes, sir. Represent us in Washington, the majority of people still want us to be and believe we can be the policemen of the world, solve all the problems, get involved with nation building and policing the world. We cannot afford it anymore, so we have to redesign our foreign policy to protection of our national security and making sure that national defense is defense, but not a subsidy to the military-industrial complex. You have a right to your liberty, and you should have a right to your property and a right to keep the fruits of your labor. That's what the incentive system does. Today, there's so many people who believe that they have to have an entitlement from government. An entitlement from government means the government's job is to take from one and give to another. It's a transfer of wealth. At the same time, when you do that, you undermine the production of wealth. And when a country is very wealthy and they're borrowing, credit is good, you can do this for a long time, and we did it for a long time, but that has come to an end. Right now, we can barely keep up with financing our debt, so we do know this is coming to an end. John Adams warned us that if we ever morph from a republic into a pure democracy, that the democracy proceeds to such a point that there's a demand on entitlements from the various groups. He said that, he used this word that surprised me, he says, the society would murder itself. And I'm afraid we're in the process of doing that. We're murdering our liberties, our civil liberties. We're murdering our ability to understand our foreign entanglement. And we are murdering our dollar and our economic system. So we are facing a deep challenge. The good news is that we don't have to invent the solution. We got into this mess because we had too many people who were careless and didn't understand and wanted to obey the Constitution. To me, the solution is rather simple. Let's only send people to Washington who do understand and will obey the Constitution. message is that you don't have to worry about compromising. Matter of fact, the more you stick to the principles, the more you bring people together if you truly understand them. In economic terms, it's your freedom to work hard, keep what you earn, and spend the money the way you want. You don't have to say that you don't want to. You can be frivolous, but you can't put your responsibility of the outcome on somebody else. But you have the freedom to make those choices. But the same thing applies to our social issues. Obviously, we all believe in making our own choices in religious issues. So if we can put this all back together and say freedom puts the responsibility on the individuals, all of a sudden we bring people together who have different viewpoints, but we all have one viewpoint on what freedom is about. We want to have the freedom to run our lives as we choose and spend the money as we so choose, and therefore we in this together, and to me, I think this is the way you bring people together. We've experienced a grand experiment, the best experiment ever of freedom. We had the largest middle class and the most prosperous, richest middle class ever. The evidence is very clear, and this is why people are getting scared. That middle class is shrinking. We're not producing the wealth. We're indebted overseas. We're indebted to ourselves. We have these huge debts, but the biggest one is hard to measure, and that is the obligations for the entitlement system. Because that goes up into over $100 trillion that is necessary, is just not there. So we have to restore the confidence in how a free market works. It worked before, it can work again. It wouldn't take us long if we get on the right track. But right now we have embarked on propping up a bad system, transferring debt from those who have benefited, bailing them out, and dumping the debt on people, and that is why the economy is stagnating. So in a free market, if people get themselves in trouble, they have to either work harder, cut back, and pay off the debt, or they have to go through bankruptcy. Right now, we're not permitting that, so we're prolonging the agony, just as we did in the Great Depression, just as Japan did over the last 20 years. So we're in this mess for 4 years now, and unless we understand that and what we have to do, this is not going to get much better. If we do the right thing, I am very confident that we will be back on our feet again within a year. People say, well, isn't that going to take a lot of sacrifice? But I want to ask you, how much of a sacrifice would it be if the government got out of your way and we took income taxes down to zero? That doesn't sound like a sacrifice to me. Where if you save your money, it would maintain its purchasing power, maybe even go up in its purchasing power. That's not a sacrifice at all. What if we allowed you to practice your life and not have an invasion of your privacy and not have the Fourth Amendment rights that you are entitled to undermine? No, this would be much better. Now, there is a concern by some who think they might have to sacrifice. Those are the people that are living off as those are the ones who have been benefiting by this system, getting the contracts and benefiting from the inflation, and then getting the bailout. So let's give them their sacrifice and let's take our freedoms back. I want to thank you very much for coming out. We will be moving on to our next stop, and I think we should stay optimistic, but do whatever you can to get some votes out for tomorrow night. Thanks a lot. See everybody. Thank you guys.
Dr. Paul, would you get a picture with us?
Okay, sure can. Here we go.
Somebody do this one.
All my life.
Yes, you did.